Listen to this podcast now on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Why is the middle class shrinking? Why are people facing an affordability crisis while marginalized individuals called informals grow in numbers? Join me as I travel the world, speaking with people living in invisibility, the leaders working to solve it, and uncovering the hard truths shaping our economy and daily reality.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform. The Rita Cosby Show, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, this is truly incredible. The fact that the state of New Jersey has elected somebody with ties to a convicted terrorist. Yes, and it is the 25th anniversary of 9/11, and the Blind Sheikh played an enormous role with the 1993 World Trade Center bombing, which killed 6 people, injured more than 1,000 people. It was supposed to be like a 9/11. Thank goodness it wasn't as bad, obviously, but it was horrific. And now I'm disgusted tonight, guys. I am shocked and I am disgusted that this guy, Dr. Adam Hamawy, that's how you pronounce his name, he is a plastic surgeon, and he's also a terrorist sympathizer. And now he probably is going to be a new member of Congress coming in the new Congress. It's shocking. He was in the race in New Jersey last night in the primaries. We were all here together during all the big primaries that took place, so many of them across California, New Jersey, and Iowa and elsewhere. And one of the big primaries that we were looking at was New Jersey District 12. And this is where Adam Hamawy was in a very crowded race. It was quite a crowded race. It's a very sort of, definitely a very strong, staunch Democratic district there in New Jersey. So usually the person who wins the Democratic primary is almost assured to get in. Let's hope that this is an anomaly this time and that this guy never sees the light of day. And I'm imploring tonight the members of Congress, I'm imploring the Democrats in Congress, have a spine, have a moral compass. Do not let this guy be seated. You can block him from being seated. You can vote to expel him. You can say he cannot come in and he will not be sworn in. You can literally, once he technically wins, you can expel him. You can say we deserve better and the American public and the New Jersey citizens deserve better. And boy, did they deserve better than this guy. It's really incredible. I can't believe that we're talking about this. This is a guy who voluntarily testified for the Blind Sheikh, Abdul Rahman. That was the mastermind for the 1993 World Trade Center bomber. We all remember the Blind Sheikh. I remember covering it extensively. And in fact, Andy McCarthy, I'll play a few clips for him in a moment. He was the prosecutor there going after the Blind Sheikh. Everybody knew the Blind Sheikh. He was like before Osama bin Laden. The guy was the worst of the worst. And this guy was palsy-walsy with this guy, hanging out. He was his interpreter for like 2 years. He was translating for him, driving with him across the country as they spoke about jihad. And this guy then said, I want to volunteer and talk about what a wonderful guy this guy is in his trial for terrorism. It doesn't get any more twisted to me. And yet, what is going on with the water in the Garden State? That 28%, again, in a crowded field, that was enough for him to declare victory last night. And the sad thing is, he's not a one-off. You look at what's going on in Michigan with Abdul El-Sayed, that guy who seems to love Gaza and hate Israel, and that guy who also talks about defund the police. You got Zohran Mamdani in New York, you guys. I always said this guy's a true believer, and if he gets elected, it's going to spread like a cancer around this country, and it is. And then you look at some of these others that are out there. This is really frightening. There's a guy in Pennsylvania we talked about. Same thing. Democratic Socialists of America. There's a common thread here. But there's also, at this point, a list with this guy. He was hanging around some of the worst of the worst of the worst. And so at the victory party last night, I thought this was like maybe a parody, but it's not. At the victory party last night, when he declared victory, Dr. Adam Hamawy, the guy who's friends with the convicted terrorist, or at least he was, here is the sights and sounds from his victory party. This is not in Gaza. This is not in Iran. This is in New Jersey. Allahu Akbar. That's what they were chanting there in New Jersey. You comfortable with that? You know what? When you hear this guy's beliefs, it's a little chilling. It's a little chilling. And yet, if you go after this guy tonight, he's already put out a statement saying those who are criticizing him are gross and bigoted. I'll be happy to take both of those titles because that's how this guy is shocking. It's not gross. It's not bigoted. It's American. And to me, it's deeply concerning that this guy may likely become a member of Congress. Right now, again, blue seat, Democrat. He just won the primary. He's 99% assured that he is going to be a member of Congress. So wake up, Democrats, and wake up, Americans. There is a troubling, frightening trend happening in this country. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. How did we lose our way that we are in this path now that this guy is actually going to be a member of Congress? And then I brought up the El-Sayed. I brought up Mamdani. Both of them, three of them, all hanging out with Hassan Piker, the guy who said America deserved 9/11. We're on a really scary, dangerous path, and we have to wake up because we're really on the precipice of something dangerous. They've already said, and these are members of the squad that are supporting this guy. He's got big support from Bernie Sanders. He's got big support from AOC. He's got big support from the usual cast of characters who seem to think this guy is some wonderful, wonderful soul. Well, here he is. This is Dr. Adam Hamawy. He was asked because it wasn't such a surprise. It just came out recently. All of these terror ties resurfaced, I should say, because it wasn't a big surprise back then. And here he is at his, quote, victory party. And he's asked about how many people at a victory party are asked, let's talk about your terror ties. Listen to this.
What is your message to the big dollar donors, the dark money folks, maybe the political establishment, some of the pro-Israel people who've been trying to smear you? I mean, I can't imagine it's been easy, just on a personal level, behind the veil of being a candidate or a politician, to deal with people associating you with, terrorism or Al-Qaeda. I mean, these are really nasty smears. I mean, what is your message for the establishment or for the big dollar donors?
Well, we have the politics of hate and division. It just isn't going to work anymore. We are looking for, races and people who are going to uplift and bring people together. And, anti-Muslim hate, racism, this division that we've been trying to sow into our politics and rile people up with fear is a thing of the past. And we are going to a new America where this is not going to be acceptable anymore.
We're moving to a new America where this is not acceptable anymore. What? Hanging out with a terrorist is not acceptable anymore? That would be a good thing. And then we have also everybody who is dodging the media. And I'm talking about people like Bernie Sanders, AOC, all of these people. I should say Bernie's not really dodging the media. He's just right there. He is literally right there. And when the media come and ask him about Graham Platner, I haven't seen them ask him about this guy yet, but I can't wait for the answer on that one. But on Graham Platner, his answer is, oh, that's his personal business when it came out about all this sexting. His handle, by the way, on this sexting app, Kick, which is mostly young girls, by the way, is Hustle, P Hustle. You can't make it up. I think it's P Hustle 0331 or something like that. That's his handle. So I actually was watching John Fetterman right before the show tonight. the voice of reason. I never thought I'd say that. The voice of reason in the Democratic Party, and he surely is. So he says, you know what? He has a lot of trouble with Graham Platner. And he said Graham Platner should owe it right now to the American public because that primary is happening next Tuesday. And he says he should be putting out all the messages that are in question, the sexting with young people, all this stuff, so people can be assured, find out what it is, what kind of sexting was it, and were these people underage? Because it was on a site that is known for young girls. And you want to elect somebody like that? And then yet you've got Bernie Sanders saying it's between him and his wife. Bernie Sanders clearly doesn't care about morality. He keeps saying, oh, we're going to win in Maine. That's really all that matters, essentially. And that's just a private business. I'm sorry. That is not a private business to me. To me, if you have somebody who is so unseemly, so disgusting that he has a Nazi tattoo for 20 years, that he essentially says women deserve to be raped, that they just need to buck up, that he is blasting veterans, that he is blasting blacks, he was blasting gays. I can't think of a group he hasn't really blasted and offended. And yet he is still the candidate there from Maine. I love the state of Maine. This is a travesty for Maine. But what I also think is a complete travesty is the Democratic Party willing to have a Hamawy. Right now, I haven't heard them say we got to kick this guy out. And then Bernie Sanders and other members still embracing Graham Platner after everything we know. So listen to Bernie Sanders. This is cut 39. And this is Bernie Sanders when he was asked, what do you make of Graham Platner and the sexting, the newly married, all this stuff, all the horrific things that I just cited. And by the way, that's just the tip of the iceberg. There are reports tonight that some big stuff is about to drop with Graham Platner. Can it get any bigger? What, does he have like 20 Nazi tattoos? Is that the new news? But here is Bernie Sanders saying, oh, I guess he just has a little bit of problems with his wife. That's it. Not to worry. We'll just take anybody.
60% of our people are living paycheck to paycheck. People can't afford health care. They can't afford groceries. They can't afford to fill up their gas tanks. The oligarchs are planning to spend, I believe, some $90 million in a small state like Maine to defeat Graham Platner. So I think maybe we should be focusing on the important issues facing working people throughout this country, not focusing on his marriage. And my understanding is that his wife, Amy, who I met, indicated they love each other. But maybe we focus on the issues facing the American people, the people of Maine, and not the marriage issues facing Graham Platner.
But is sending sexually explicit messages, does that make you, is that the right person for office? Are you at all rethinking your endorsement?
Oh, certainly not.
Certainly not? Okay, thank you, sir.
Certainly not. Oh, he's the right kind of guy for the state of Maine. I love Maine. Maine, you deserve better. Much better. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Al in Yonkers on line 5. Al, this is really just sad. It's pathetic and it's disgraceful.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, as you recollect back in the 80s, you know, Gary Hart told the reporters basically, you could follow me. You remember the monkey business? Monkey
business, of course.
Yeah, with Don, I forgot her name, Donna Hart, but he wasn't able to survive. He was going to run again in 88. That's the way it looked at the time. So he had to get out. You know, we saw in 92, you know, when Bill's the former governor, Bill Clinton, came under scrutiny with Flowers, Wiley, and of course. Oh, yeah,
Jennifer Flowers, Kathleen Wiley, all of that. Yep.
Yeah, Wiley came when I think he was president, not during the campaign. I'm not sure. But he came back as the comeback kid. I think the problem for Platner is these texts, like you said, the speculation is more will come out.
Yeah, there's reports tonight that some big something is about to drop.
Yeah, exactly. And, it's just too graphic with those pictures in the lavatory. And the problem is, imagine, the good people in Maine and New England, they're going to say, imagine this guy in Washington. It would be a horror show if he was down there, 4 days a week.
Yeah, and what else is going to come out? I mean, that's the thing too, Al. Like, what else is out there? This is not even the general election, and the primary is on Tuesday, so let's see what happens. But if he gets in, you can imagine the Republicans are going to have a field day. And I'm just, I don't know, Graham Platner, but just from everything I've heard about him, I will make my opinion. This is clearly just the tip of the iceberg, that there is so much more about this guy that we have yet to find out. Don't you think there's going to be an avalanche against this guy? Al?
The only thing good with the Maine is I think they have an election clause that the party could drop him as the month after the primary. So if Mills, who is starting up her campaign again, if she can't beat him in the primary, maybe, when the more possible, bad things come out, the Democratic Party will say, hey, look, you got to get out, and they could put in another candidate. Yeah,
and they may wait to see what happens in the primary. They may say, oh, wow, he got elected overwhelmingly. Maybe we can ride through this. I think they're waiting on that. Maybe they're waiting to see what other shoes drop. But you're right. Janet Mills said, hey, by the way, I am still on the ballot. They couldn't take her name off. So she is still technically on the ballot. So she's also waiting in the wings, too. Al, this is like, who needs The Bold and the Beautiful? This is like a better soap opera than any of those. And by the way, it was Donna Rice. I was trying to remember Gary Hart. It was Donna Rice Hughes. I remember Monkey Business. He said, follow me, I dare you. And they did. And we know what they found. We'll be right back after the break.
Almonte's Key Food, proudly serving communities throughout Brooklyn, Queens, and Long Island for over 30 years. When you shop Key Food, you'll always find fresh products, great weekly specials, and exceptional personalized service. Visit at any of their Key Food stores at 8235 153rd Avenue, Lindenwood, New York, 935 Rosedale Road, Valley Stream, New York, and 6620 Avenue U, Brooklyn, New York.
The Rita Cosby Show, entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
It is quite remarkable. By the way, also, when we come back here on the Rita Cosby Show, we'll talk about this guy in New Jersey, Graham Platner. There's some more details coming out tonight. This guy, I guess he really did like World War II. Let's put it that way. And also, we're going to talk about California. It's looking good for Hilton and also Pratt.
The Rita Cosby Show, entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
The Rita Cosby Show presents Back the Blue.
And this Back the Blue segment coming from Merrillville, Indiana, where a Northwest Indiana family safe thanks to the very heroic actions of police officer Adam Zormier, who rescued a woman and her 4 children from a burning home. He was on patrol when he saw heavy smoke coming from a house, coming from the windows and roof. So he ran up to the house. He pounded on the door, but he got no response. And then he saw several cars in the driveway. Based on the amount of smoke coming out, he said he feared the worst. So he kicked the front door open and heavy smoke billowed out. He called for people. He crawled inside the front door. He said it was very hard to see, very dark, and it sounded like people were frantically yelling, but I knew that I couldn't access them. So he raced around the house and he saw the family in the basement, frantically trying to get out and seeing lots of smoke. He broke a window along with a neighbor, and they were able to get the whole family out of the house. The family included a 26-year-old mother, her 3 children, and the woman's younger sister, a 12-year-old. The officer was treated for smoke inhalation at a local hospital, but thankfully nobody was seriously hurt. And thank goodness for that officer and the Good Samaritan, the police said. If it was not for those two angels, that family could have had very severe results. And who knows what could have happened. Maybe they could not have gotten out. Certainly would have had some very, very serious injuries at minimum. And thank goodness for the courage of this guy running into danger. That's what our men and women in blue do every single day. And that's why I love that we highlight them here every night on the Rita Cosby Show. I find it reprehensible, as we've been talking about, Graham Platner, his bashing the police. By the way, this Dr. Adam Hamawy, with the terror ties, he also called for defunding ICE, defunding the police. So there's a similar pattern that we're seeing here. And there's some new news that came out just a little bit ago about Graham Platner. Now, remember, he had that Nazi tattoo, that very vile Nazi tattoo, the Totenkopf or death head Nazi tattoo of the guards in the concentration camp. He had it outside, remember, where you could see it on his body. He had it. He would see it every single day for 18 years. And now he just recently covered it up because, of course, people find it reprehensible, but obviously he didn't for 18 years. Well, now it turns out that there's a couple posts, there's at least one, where he praised, quote, a cool pic, as he described it, a cool picture of Nazi-aligned troops aiming a rifle during World War II, zeroing in on German helmets and a weapon. And now has since deleted that social media post, but it kind of shows him with a fascination towards clearly Nazi iconography. And again, this is from a guy with that SS skull and crossbones worn by the SS officers who manned the Nazi concentration camps. That's his tattoo. So you got the tattoo, you got him kind of praising the cool uniforms of the Nazis. I don't think that tattoo was a one-off. Clearly it wasn't. It was there for 18 years. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Sandra in New Jersey on line 5. Go ahead, Sandra, your thoughts.
Oh, good evening. So I'm concerned about Dr. Adam Hamawy, plastic surgeon, Army veteran. He's gonna, a lot of people are gonna be fooled by him. He's already saying things like, he's going to be the first one that had hands-on experience with Israel's genocidal war. He was already saying that, he saw patient after patient in Gaza permanently maimed. What about what happened with Israel on October 7th? What about that? Are we going to forget all that? But this man is definitely, and then he's saying that Israel has attempted to build a narrative that these are bad people that we need to bomb out of existence. I have a feeling he's trouble, and I think that he's going to be... You have a feeling, Sandra?
Let me tell you, your feeling is correct. How's that, Sandra?
Boy. Oh, boy. I'm going to move soon. I'm going to move out of New Jersey.
That's right. You're a New Jersey gal. You know what's interesting, Sandra? I just saw tonight, too, that... when he worked for this group in Bosnia, which also had Al-Qaeda ties. And then he also worked at a hospital in Gaza. And it was the same hospital where all those Hamas tunnels were underneath. I don't know. I don't know if he knew about them, but if you worked at that hospital, I would find it a little hard to believe that with all the different supplies and sadly other things that they were bringing into those tunnels, that you wouldn't have knowledge. It's just, there's too many horrible things connected to this guy. And Sandra, stick with me. I want to play this and get your reaction. Here's a little bit of Adam Hamawy in his own words. Here he is. He's with Hassan Piker, another lovely soul.
This is a question that I ask every candidate that comes on the broadcast, is the Zohran method. What are your top 5 policies that you want to be defined by?
So, I talk about healthcare, not bombs. I talk about abolish ICE and to unrig the economy, but let's unpack that. So healthcare, not bombs means Medicare for all, and not bombs means we need to address our foreign policy And we need to look at the military-industrial complex, take it apart, and really see what we need. We are spending $1 trillion, on our defense / Department of War / Department of War Crimes now. And what we need to do is spend that in healthcare and spend it in education. We need to abolish ICE. And so not only do we need to, abolish it, but we need to dismantle the DHS completely.
He wants to dismantle Department of Homeland Security completely, defund ICE. And Sandra, listen to this. Here's Andy McCarthy. He was the prosecutor who was with the government at the time, who went after the Blind Sheikh. That's Omar Abdel-Rahman, who was tied to the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. One of the worst acts. I remember when that happened. Killed 6 people, injured 1,000. And their plan was to blow up the World Trade Center, which obviously, as we know, sadly happened in 2001. Same group, same al-Qaeda group, tied to bin Laden, all of that. Omar Abdel-Rahman paid actually for Ramzi Youssef, who did that, paid for him to come to America, help train him, considered the mastermind, if you will. And this guy was palling around him, and now he's about to, on the verge of becoming a member of Congress. So Andy McCarthy was the guy who prosecuted the Blind Sheikh. And we were talking with him earlier, and he made a very good point that this Adam Hamawy couldn't wait to testify on behalf of the Blind Sheikh. That's like saying, who wants to testify on behalf of Osama bin Laden? Oh, I'd like to come and say what a great dresser he is, what a great beard he is, how he's misunderstood. Maybe has a little anger management problems, but he's misunderstood. Essentially, that's what this guy did. I mean, this is shocking. He's a true believer. New Jersey, wake up. Here is Andy McCarthy. Listen to this because he describes, he was there at the time. Remember, government prosecutor of the Blind Sheikh. He's the one who led the very successful prosecution. And he was describing to us earlier exactly what Adam Hamawy did.
The most important stuff with Hamawy happened in 1991. He took a trip to Detroit with the Blind Sheikh and with a government informant. That's what his testimony was about. It's also important to understand he voluntarily testified for the defense. It's not like I subpoenaed him as the government lawyer to come in and testify as a hostile witness. He volunteered to testify. The Blind Sheikh was a very important figure in Islamist circles, in jihadist circles. When he came to the United States in 1990, he had issued the fatwa or the Sharia law edict approving the murder of Anwar Sadat, the president of Egypt, who made peace with Israel. So he was a well-known, notorious figure when he came here. We had a government informant who testified that in 1991, he drove the Sheikh and other guys to this conference in Detroit, and basically the Sheikh asked him, when this guy was in the Egyptian military, why didn't you turn your guns on Mubarak, who was, of course, Sadat's successor?
And he essentially had reasons for that. And then he also kept talking about jihad, that entire drive to that area with this government informant. Remember, they didn't know it was a government informant, but the government informant said Hamawy was in the car and that they kept talking about jihad the entire time. Does that sound like a normal conversation? The other thing Andy just talked about was that the Blind Sheikh came to the United States and was notorious for plotting to overthrow, as you heard, Anwar Sadat, who indeed obviously was taken out. Remember, and trying to make peace with Israel. I mean, there were so many of those. It was a very contentious time. And so here he comes to the United States in 1990, and Hamawy is hanging around with the Blind Sheikh 91 to 93. And then remember, it's 93 when he does the World Trade Center bombing. It doesn't sound like he was keeping to himself. It wasn't acting like an upstanding individual. He was like, it sounded like boasting to everybody. And he was boasting even before he landed in U.S. soil, plotting and planning assassinations. And so here's a little bit more from Andy McCarthy. Listen to this.
Yeah, and it's beyond that. I mean, he went to Bosnia. I thought this was very interesting because the guys in our trial, Rita, I'm sure you'll remember this, they were caught planning simultaneous bombings. After the World Trade Center was attacked, simultaneous bombings of New York City landmarks. And we had such strong evidence against them that they really couldn't say they didn't do it. So their defense was that they had actually been training to go to Bosnia. They weren't really planning an attack on New York. And that was because the Blind Sheikh and people like him were always telling people to go to telling Muslims to go to the fields of jihad around the world, like Afghanistan and Bosnia, and participate in the jihad. And it turns out that Hamawy went to Bosnia. Now, I think he functioned as a doctor, but he did so under the auspices of an outfit called Benevolence International Fund, which was later designated as a front organization for Al-Qaeda, and I believe that the Treasury Department shut it down.
So are these just all coincidences? He's with a guy talking jihad. He works for this group, Benevolence International, that Andy says obviously has ties to Al-Qaeda, worked at a hospital where the Hamas tunnels were below it. And I guess if you criticize him, you're bigoted. Well, here's Ari Fleischer, former White House press secretary.
Yeah, you know, as somebody who stood at the White House podium on September 11th, 2001, I am absolutely stunned that the voters, even in a liberal district in New Jersey, could have an Al-Qaeda volunteer. The man moved to Bosnia to work for an offshoot of Al-Qaeda, knowing it was Al-Qaeda. I mean, this is stunning to me that somebody like that could get elected to Congress. And he will get elected to Congress now because it's such an overwhelmingly blue seat. And I think, frankly, Congress should give very serious consideration to not seating him.
I love that idea. Congress can block seating this guy. The question is, do they have the moral clarity to do that? Do they have the understanding of just how vile and despicable this guy is? Or are Democrats just happy to have a body in a chair and they'll take anybody like this Hamawy and like Graham Platner? 1-800-848-9222. Let's go back to Sandra in New Jersey. Sandra, I feel sorry for the fabulous Garden State.
You know what burns me up? Bernie Sanders. He gave this man a key endorsement. And I'm beginning to see we are getting infiltrated with the people that think this way. And my hands are going up like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. I'm sure Mikey Sherrill is happy with this man because he, thinks the way she does. And but this is not the way we think. And I feel like we are getting infiltrated every which way you turn.
Sandra, I actually think infiltrate is a very good word because there's a master plan here. And if you listen to like even the Democratic Socialists of America, their whole thing is, have candidates, have people that share their values. They're all the same. It's like defund the police, defund ICE, anti-Israel. All over. Right. It's all over. And that's why, you open the door to one victory. They feel emboldened. Big funding, too. That's the other thing. Mamdani had a lot of money coming towards these other ones. So there are people who are clearly, quote, and you so eloquently said, infiltrating this country with anti-American values. And what shocks me is, who are these 28% in New Jersey that said, I'll take a guy like that to represent? This is not for, member of Congress in Bosnia or in Gaza. This is for a member of Congress in the United States. Did they forget sort of the United States part?
You got me, Rita. I can't figure this out, but
we got to figure it out. We got to figure out the infiltration, Sandra, as you just said. I'm praying for your state, Sandra. You know I am.
Thank you, Rita, so much. I love you.
Love you too. Thank you very much, Sandra. Thanks. And everybody, we will continue your calls after the break. Sandra said it right. They are infiltrating, and sadly, they are growing in their infiltration. 1-800-848-9222, and we'll continue with the Rita Cosby Show right after the break.
The Rita Cosby Show, entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And when we come back in the next hour, we're going to talk about some comments President Trump made. Boy, there's some good doozies there about Graham Platner, James Talafrico, as we call him in Texas, and also him talking about Jill Biden and Joe Biden. There's a lot of stuff going on there. And he also goes off on Caitlin Collins, too, of CNN, asking why she never smiles. Also, the California race. Really, it's just wild. We were together when all the results were coming in, and so far they have not changed. We're waiting, of course, to see what happens with the mail-in ballots. But in California, right now, Steve Hilton is leading the charge there on the governor's side. We'll wait to see what happens when the mail-in ballots go through. And then also in the mayor's race, we know that Karen Bass has at least secured a spot. And they're waiting to see if Nithian Raman and also Spencer Pratt, which one of them will advance. But Spencer Pratt right now still sitting in the number 2 seat. So it's incredible. Republicans in 2 pivotal races looking pretty good right now. We'll see what happens again when the mail-in ballots come in. But right now, looking good. And let's hope for California it stays that way. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Joaquin in Pennsylvania, line 4.
Good evening, Rita. You know, first thing is that I think that in college it became cool to be anti-Semitic. And unfortunately, most of the college staff, unfortunately, is anti-American, anti-Semitic, anti-Israel.
Hey, Joaquin,
somehow,
let me ask you. I don't know. Did you go to college?
You know what? I did, but
Did you? Was it like? I'm curious. It wasn't like that at my college. Was it like that? I agree.
No.
I agree. It's with colleges now, but I don't remember it ever being like that. Do you?
No, I don't. You know. And, you know, the thing of it is that actually I'm going to refer to Katz and Cosby this afternoon. Yeah,
a great show, by the way. A superb, top-rated, awesome show, by the way, Joaquin. Go ahead.
That's right. It's the best place to get your news, you know.
Yep.
And you know, the thing, like you said, education is a big problem. And, you know, the thing of it is that, you know, unfortunately, we have allowed people to misrepresent the history of this country. And a perfect example is the way that they had tried to divide, you know, Americans, black Americans and white Americans on the issue of slavery, because most of what they have said is basically is a lie and a misrepresentation. The 1619 Project, when that ship came here, they were not slaves when they came here. They were indentured servants. Slavery actually wasn't until, I think, 1651, because under British common law at the time, it was indentured servants. And again, it was a black man, Anthony Johnson, who sued to have the contract to have John Castor actually made his property and not the contract. So that opened the door for slavery right there, you know. So these things have been totally misrepresented to divide us.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. They are totally misrepresented. By the way, and let's not forget, Abraham Lincoln was a Republican.
Thanks for listening to The Rita Cosby Show. You can hear The Rita Cosby Show weeknights at 10 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
One summer moment can change a child's life. Through Toys for Tots Give and Go initiative, your support provides books, games, toys, and outdoor adventures that spark curiosity, creativity, and a love of nature. Whether it's fishing, learning a new sport, reading under a tree, or playing with friends, these moments build confidence and lifelong memories. For too many children, those moments never come. You can help change that this summer. Visit toysfortots.org. Toys for Tots, delivering hope beyond the holidays.